Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loki here. Join me today as we prune back some perennials and add a fresh layer of mulch in a small flower bed. So let's go. Gardening doesn't stop once you get a plant and just put it in the ground. It requires maintenance, it requires work, but isn't that part of the fun of gardening? This is a very small flower bed and I absolutely love it. It is time. I need to come in here and do some maintenance, and that includes cutting back and pruning some of the perennials that are in here. That is a very important part when it comes to perennials. After they're done blooming, there are a number of things you can do to your perennial plants, and it really depends on the plant itself. Sometimes you're going to do some deadheading, sometimes you're going to do a hard cut back. When it comes to the perennials in this bed, there aren't many that need maintenance, but there are two. So let me show you closer what we're going to work on today. There are a bunch of annuals, including begonia and coleus, that you can see right here. And we're not going to be playing around with those today, but I just wanted to point them out because they are looking good. There is also some trailing lobelia. These are all annuals that I started from seed. But we're going to talk about a perennial that needs to be pruned back. In fact, I started doing them already. This right here is called Candytuft. And it's a beautiful perennial that blooms during the spring months. And I am basically just coming in here and deadheading it. Deadheading means just cutting back any of the spent blooms. The other thing that can happen this time of year is you can tidy up or clean up your plant. And I'll be going over that a little bit more in detail in a few minutes. The other plant that is in this flower bed, it's a perennial, is called Ajuga or bugleweed. What we're going to do is we're going to be coming in and cutting back any of the spent blooms. And the main purpose for cutting back those blooms is that they're unsightly. They don't look very good. And another reason is I don't want this plant to go to seed. So we will be cutting those back. And when it comes to the Candytuft, the same thing does apply. If you don't want the plant to go to seed and spread seed everywhere, or it just looks kind of untidy, for that reason, you deadhead your plant. So let's get this job started, shall we? The Ajuga was beautiful when it was blooming during the early spring months, but right now, these blooms do not look good. The foliage down below is still very beautiful, but I feel like these are taken away from the beautiful foliage. Plus, I don't want this plant to go to seed. If you know anything about Ajuga or bugleweed, it can be a little aggressive. I don't mind keeping the plant in check, but I definitely don't want to look at these blooms, and I don't want these blooms to go to seed. I'm going to use my hand pruners, and what I'm going to do is follow the bloom stalk down to the bottom. And you don't need to be exact. You just want to clip it as far as you can go down below, just like this. And this type of maintenance is also very satisfying. I think it just really improves the look of the overall plant. And not only that, it's a pretty quick job to do when you think about it. You can just go right in and just keep on clipping these. When I work on garden projects in my yard, I like to tackle small areas at a time. And doing a job like this is pretty quick work. With any plant, if you are trying to collect the seed of that plant, then you don't want to prune the seed pods back or cut back the seed pods. You want to leave them in place so that you can collect the seeds of the plant. But when it comes to this particular plant, I'm definitely not interested in collecting any of the seeds since this plant spreads very aggressively actually. So I'm very happy to just cut back these spent blooms. And you can see just in this small space here what a difference it makes by cutting back the blooms versus leaving the blooms here and not doing any maintenance to it. I don't have a lot of blooms to cut back, but I have enough. You get the point on what needs to happen with that plant. Let's move on to our next plant. So when it comes to Ajuga, I showed you deadheading the blossoms. When it comes to this beautiful Candytuft, I like to do two things. Again, keep in mind, I'm not trying to save the seeds off the plant. So at this point, I want to go ahead and deadhead it. The reason is I don't like the way that the seed pods look. Also, I don't want this plant to set seed, and I don't want a bunch of little baby plants everywhere. So I'm just coming in and snipping off the tops, basically where the seed pods are, just like that. I don't need to go down very far. And this will just make the overall appearance of my plant look better. Now, some people like to collect the seeds of their plants. you can do that. You can leave these on here, let the plant go to seed, and then collect the seeds. Another thing you can do with some of your plants is you can take cuttings and you can go ahead and root those cuttings. In fact, this plant very easily roots from cuttings. This time of year, I have so many other projects going on. I'm not interested in collecting the seeds or rooting my plants. I just want to go ahead and do the regular maintenance that needs to happen. One thing I did not mention is when is the right time to prune or deadhead your Candytuft. The best time to do it is immediately after your plant has flowered. And the reason is if you wait too long, you might be cutting off the blooms for next year. There's a right time and a wrong time to deadhead and prune your Candytuft. A great time to do it is immediately after it's done blooming. Some people say that it will rebloom again for you if you cut it back or deadhead it immediately after it's done blooming. I've never gotten mine to rebloom for me. I think it depends on the variety. You definitely do not want to be doing this type of job during the very early spring months before your plant is due to bloom, because you might be cutting back your blossoms. So you want to make sure you're doing this type of job at the right time. Candytuft is known to get very scraggly, very leggy. So there are two main things I like to do. The first thing is come in and do what we're doing right now, which is called deadheading the plant. And once I'm done deadheading the plant, the next thing I like to do is to prune back my plant. And when I say prune, I'm not saying the top parts necessarily. I'm mostly talking about the outer parts of it, around the plant. That's where the plant typically gets very scraggly, very leggy. But you can see I'm first tackling the top and I'm just coming in here and I'm deadheading. If I wanted to, I could also come in here and see if there's anything that's scraggly in the center. But I want to show you it's not bad because a lot of the new growth came in from the center. It flushed here. The scraggly part or the leggy part is all on the outside over here. I will tell you, it's really up to you on how far or how much you want to cut back your plant. My experience has been my plants benefit when I give them a good hard cut back. So right in here, I like to cut back my plant by about 30% or so. The key is you don't want to be cutting in too far into the woody part, the center woody part of your plant. So I'm just going to come in just like this. And this is called pruning. I'm going to prune my plant back. I'm taking my cutters, my pruners, and you can use whatever tool you have that's handy for you, and just cutting it back like that. It might seem harsh, but again, this process works for me. It keeps my plant a little more tidy. It keeps it more in check. You could come in individually and follow each piece back and prune them back that way. Since I have so much Candytuft in my landscape, that would be very time consuming for me. So I would much rather just come in here and do what I'm doing. Candytuft is a beautiful plant. It's a nice evergreen plant, but it definitely can start to not look so good if you don't maintain it regularly. I usually prefer doing this job during the late spring, early summer months. I don't like to do this during the fall months. I feel like I'm cutting it too close. I feel like the plant will not produce as many blooms for me since it does like to bloom in the spring. So I prefer to do this immediately after it's done blooming. I'm a little late this year with pruning it back, but I still feel like I have plenty of time for it to put on its new growth and its new blooms for next year. Many times I'll come in and just try to unwind it a little bit because it starts to just grow amongst itself, and so I like to open it up before I cut it back. And then I just come in and I snip. And since I want to mulch this area, I figure it's a really good time also to be doing this job because it will just open it up a little bit and then I can come in and mulch around it. You'll have to let me know if you have Candytuft in your landscape and what has your experience been. How do you do this job? Is it similar to me or is it different? Please share it down in the comments below. Not only do I love reading your comments, other people enjoy it as well. And I feel like we all can learn from each other. Now, if I had Candytuft on a rock wall and I wanted it to hang down from it, then maybe I wouldn't be doing this job. I would let it just hang over the rock wall. But since I have it in a small flower bed, I want to keep it compact and tidy. And I basically follow the plant around. I'm just going around it. Now I'm on the back side of it and cutting back here. I used to spend the time and go through each individual piece. It's very time consuming that way. So there's a piece here that's a little leggy. I can come in and just cut it back. Now is also a great time if I find a piece that is dead, because sometimes that happens where you have a piece in between somewhere as you're looking around that just doesn't look good. You can go ahead and cut that back as well. It's a great time to just really do some maintenance work on the Candytuft. Look at that, looks so much better. In the center of the bed are small leaf rhododendrons. They are fairly small shrubs, but I want to show you there's one right here that has some, I would call them rogue pieces sticking out from the top. And this is a great time for me to just come in here and cut those back, because I don't like the look of how this plant looks right here. So I'm just going to come in and just clip those pieces back. It won't harm the rest of my small leaf rhododendron. In fact, I'm happy to do it this time of year. Even if this rhododendron is starting to send out its buds for next year, I know that I don't like the look of this plant where it's sending out these pieces coming out from the top here. I would much rather do some size controlling and cut this back a little bit. Basically, I'm pruning it back or cutting it back so that it aesthetically looks better for next year. And I'm just checking it over to see if there's any other pieces. Those couple of pieces were the main ones that I didn't like the look of, but there's probably one more here that I feel happy cutting back. Just a little bit. And just those couple of snips make the overall appearance of this rhododendron look better. After I'm all done coming in and deadheading the rest of the Ajuga that's in the center here, and also after I'm all done coming in and pruning back and deadheading the rest of the Candytuft that's in this flower bed, I will show you what's next. It's not a major project actually. It's just a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of tidying that needs to be done in this area. Just a little bit of weeding, a little bit of cleaning up plants, not a lot. It's a very manageable project. And the final part that we need to do in here is to add that layer of mulch. So let me finish up what we've already started, and then let's get this bed completed, shall we? The weeding is done. It's now time for the final piece, which is adding mulch. I always like to do a fairly good job when it comes to the weeding. But with that said, when they're teeny, tiny little weeds, I let them go. I'll let them get a little bit bigger, then I can always go back in and get them later. There were a few freebie plants in there, seedlings I should call them. There was great blue lobelia, which if you have that in your yard, you know what I'm talking about. It's a native plant here in New Hampshire, and it likes to seed itself everywhere. But I'm not complaining because I do love that plant. So what I did was I just potted up the plants, and I can always put them somewhere else in my landscape. There was also a seedling of lungwort or pulmonaria, That's actually a fun one that goes to seed in my yard. So I also potted that up because I just don't know where I'm going to put them right now in my landscape. It's always a quick, easy thing to do. If I'm working on a flower bed, I don't want to just take the free seedling out and plunk it somewhere else if I don't know where it's going to go. So I'll just put it in a small little pot with some potting mix, give it some water, put it in the shade, and then think about it for a while. I had 8 yards of mulch delivered. And this is hemlock mulch, and I really like it. I like the color of it. It's pretty fine. The chunks aren't that big, so it does break down quickly, which is also nice. And I like using these 5-gallon buckets or pails. They work out really well for being able to put down the mulch. I like to only put about an inch layer of mulch in my garden beds. The reason is I'm trying to suppress weeds, but I also have freebie seedlings in a lot of my flower beds that I want to come up. For example, in this flower bed, there are definitely alyssum seedlings that are just starting to come up. So I want them to come up through the mulch. Also, each year when I plant in this garden space, I want to be planting in soil. I don't want to be planting in layers and layers of mulch. When I was new to gardening, I didn't know that, and I used to do that. I used to just plant my plants directly into like 5 inches of mulch that was there for years. And I've learned over time that's not good. You want to be planting inside of broken down material, some sort of compost. And it could be mulch, but it should be composted mulch. This is more like a fresher mulch. I don't want to be planting in 5 or 6 inches of this. So for me, I like to just put down about a 1-inch layer or so of the mulch. It's mostly for aesthetic reasons and also to help suppress some of the weeds. And again, what's nice about the bucket is I can just do this. And after I do this, I can come back in and I can spread the mulch around. And it's inevitable. Sometimes the mulch gets on your plants. You just need to shake the mulch off. I like to work the mulch at the base of my plants. You can't go wrong with a nice fresh layer of mulch. It makes all the difference in the world, I feel. When it comes to mulch, I like it and I don't like it. I like it because of the job that it provides. One thing I don't like about mulch is it makes it a little bit harder for coming in and top dressing or putting compost around, let's say, my perennials. But what I've learned over time is if you really want to add compost around your perennials in the fall, let's say, you can always pick up a perennial and move the mulch aside and top dress with some compost around it and then put the mulch back in place. It's totally doable. What's also nice about mulch is that it makes the plants that are in the flower bed really stand out. I'm excited about having these freebie alyssum in here. It's always nice when you have free plants like that. When it comes to mulching in the center where the Ajuga is, at this time of year, I'm not going to bother. The Ajuga is actually doing a pretty good job. So it really just fills in that middle space that there really is no room anyway to add a fresh layer of mulch in there. Okay, enough talking. Let's get to work. so much better. My goodness, what a difference it makes just to clean up a small little flower bed like this and add a nice layer of mulch. I am absolutely loving how this is looking. Do you remember early in the spring when I said that this flower bed will eventually take off? Well, it's starting to take off now, and I'm so excited. I just love the amount of color you can get by just adding some annuals in here, and then the mulch just really makes those annuals pop, doesn't it? In another few weeks, just imagine this is really going to be filling in nicely. Each week that goes by is a surprise. And don't you just love the way the lobelia and the coleus look together? They just complement each other so nicely, I feel. Very pleased with what we got done today. Kind of shows you if you just have one small space in your whole yard, one small garden, you can really make a difference and just pack it with color. And now keep in mind, on this side of the bed that we're looking at, the lobelia is still a little slow, but on the end you can see what it's going to look like. And it just will fill in so nicely. Before I end the video, I want to share one more important thing. When it comes to pruning your perennials, it is very important to look at your temperature. If the temperature is consistently 85 degrees Fahrenheit or hotter, then you might not want to prune back your perennials. You might want to wait. Perennials are already undergoing a lot of stress during the summer heat. So if you have like a heat wave going on, you might want to hold off on pruning those perennials. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really liked just bringing you along with what I'm doing in my garden today. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them down below. If you like this kind of video, please hit the like button. It definitely helps my channel out. And until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.